let's look at, we're going to divide it into two parts. I'm going to share you the strategic plan, as well as remind us why we are here as a church. So let me take you through the Secretariat office and the strategic plan. Now, I'm sure many of us have had the opportunity to walk into a shopping mall, big ones. And for those of you who have, the first thing you get to see when you come into the entrance, especially if it's a big shopping mall, is a map. And on this map, you have all the shops that is within the space of the mall and the structure. And normally, let me just show you it would look something like this. And then you'll always find amidst all these shops and numbers of the shops, you'll find a little dot on the map. And that dot simply tells you where you are. So it normally says you are here. And the dot has always been correct. I've tested it. It always know exactly where I am. I've always been where it said I was. And so that dot says you are here. Now, the reason why the map tells you where you are is so that you can know where you need to be or how to get to where you need to be. And so the dot is this is the starting point. This is where you are. And this is how you get to where you need to be. Without the dot, it's going to be challenging to go through the mall, especially if the mall is very big, because you won't know where you are and you won't know how to get to where you need to be. And so the dot really plays a very significant role in order for you to get to where you need to be. It tells you of your current position. And this is basically the duty of Secretariat. And its purpose, or maybe one of its purposes, is to give us the coordinates or the data, the coordinates or the data to know where we are currently positioned. And so Secretariat collects all data, membership, everything to tell us where we are currently, uh, where we are. And of course, once we know where we are, we would know where to go to, right? So this is the point of Secretariat. Now I'm going to paint a picture that is probably not going to be the best of pictures. In fact, it might be appalling to see where we are currently at. But remember, the dot is just to show you where you are, to help you to get to where you need to be. It's not our final destination. Okay, so now let me show you quickly some stats and graphs as to where we are as a church, and then we will move from this part to show you what strategies the Secretariat will undertake to ensure that we move away from here and get to where we need to be. So this is where we are currently. I've got a graph here, a line graph. You can find it in your session books of 2022. It's there. And if you just show you something here quickly, if you look at the yellow one, the yellow line, this one, those are the churches that has been added from 2012 up until 2021. So you can see a fairly consistent growth has taken place with regards to the church growth, and so these are churches and what we call church planting, right? Churches have grown. And then, but if you look at the brown line, okay, this is the membership growth. So these are the churches that have been added, and the brown one here is the membership growth. So you can see in relation to the within relation to the churches, the membership has really been going down, in a downward spiral, okay? Even reached -6. Now, there are other factors that are involved, the change from, to the ACMS system and others. But I want you to see that this trend is actually, if we look at our churches, we realize that we've actually, our membership in the churches have have decreased. Even if you go to churches today, you see big buildings, but the membership are fewer, especially fewer after COVID-19. And so there's been a rapid decrease in membership. Let me just show you another graph to show, in 2012 to 2021, we had membership per church. So you were at in 2012, we had 91 members seated in the church, okay, at least, or recorded. This is the average. 91 on average was in a church building. And then, of course, if we move all the way to 2021, we see that we have dropped to 86 members per church. And so you can see that our challenge is not really church planting. Our challenge is really membership retention. Okay, it's really membership retention and to be able to keep those that have been that have come into our church. If I just show you another bar graph here, SAU average member per church. If we look at these are conferences within the SAU, or the Southern Union Conference, okay, Southern African Union Conference, okay. That, remember, SAU has a lot of conferences, local conferences that falls under its purview, and so here you have CC, KNFC, which is your Durban area, all the KwaZulu-Natal area, including Bloemfontein, and then you have Lesotho, Namibia. And so CC is the Cape Conference. This is us here. And if we compare it to the other conferences, we will see that the average member per church, if we look at ours in 2012, was 91, right? But if you go to places like Swaziland, Namibia, and even Lesotho, you'll see that their average member per church is way more than what we have in the Cape Conference. And so truly a staggering and a very appalling stat that we see. And of course, here you have General Conference on average is 230. So we are way below par. If we were a matric class, we won't be receiving any appropriation, or what do they call it? Anything from the government, because we are below, way below average, okay? And especially compared to our other institutions or conferences. Another thing I just want to, in the Eastern Cape, we have a 7.5 million people. And then in the Western Cape, we have 8 million people. In the Northern Cape, we have about 1.5 million people. Together, we have a total of 17 million. 17 million, the population under the Cape Conference, okay? And we only have a membership, Adventist membership of 46,000, give or take, plus minus 46,000. And that means that 1 out of every 373 people within our jurisdiction in the Cape Conference are Adventists, 1 out of 373. And that's very sad. So the issue, again, that we have with our churches is not really not having campaigns. I know in the Western Cape, we had so many campaigns. Our real challenge is actually retaining, keeping the members that we have won. Let me just show you the percentage growth for the term, because 2025 is not done yet, but we are currently standing at about 46,000 membership. But if you look at from 2021 up until 2024, we've only had a 3% growth in membership, which is very sad. And if we compare it to places like Zimbabwe, in Zimbabwe, we have one out of every 15 people. 1 out of every 15 people are Adventists. And so remember, in the Cape Conference, we have 1 out of 373. You go to a place like Zimbabwe, which is like on our border, 1 out of every 15. You go to a place like Zambia, you would have a stat of 1 out of every 13. It used to be even less. It used to be 1 out of every 7. And so you just take a turn, and every 13th person you see is Adventist. And so you can see we are lagging far behind, yet South Africa has if not, is leading in infrastructure, is leading in technology, is leading in so many things that the other countries do not have, and yet our numbers are not as powerful as our neighboring countries. And so 3% really is little. Our conference right now, we are trying to increase this by 10%. So instead of having a 3% growth in this term, the conference, and you'll hear also the conference president will also mention that we'd really like to increase this by God's grace by 10%. Now, I want us, even though we are dealing with numbers, we really want to deal with the number, each person. Numbers are important to get it, all the numbers and baptisms, but we need to zoom on individuals, and this is where Secretariat comes along. When we talk about nurture and retention, really dealing with individuals and seeing to the individual need. Let me just show you, if we look at the General Conference or the Worldwide Church, since 1965, since 1965, we received 40 million people, almost 40 million people have become members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, right? Since 1965. However, for those of you who know where we are standing, we are far from that number. And so of those 40 million people, 15 million have chosen to leave the church. 15 million has chosen. Our net loss as a world church is almost 40%. In effect, 4 of every 10 new church members are slipping away. And so again, here we see the serious issue here with regards to retaining. We have a serious challenge. Yes, as in South Africa's context, but the world. And just to add to our context, with all the baptisms that we are doing and have done of late in the Cape Conference, a majority, especially in the Western Cape, a majority of those have actually been foreign national people from outside of our country coming to live here and being baptized. And so the stat is really appalling. I don't even want to tell you, if God forbid, the government and all our neighboring friends go back to their countries, we will be left with a very few people, that is native, that is from our country, occupying the seats in church. So it's very sad stat that we have. And the question we really want to ask is, what's causing this group, the orange group, what's causing them to leave? And studies have been done, quite a few studies has been done, and surveys has been done, asking these individuals, what made you to leave the church? And here we have some reasons. Well, the top 10 or 12 reasons why people have left the church. And you can see most important reasons for deciding to stop attending the church. 28% says, no big issue, I just drifted away. So those are ones, that, hey, they just drifted. There wasn't an issue. There wasn't a doctrinal issue. They just weren't, they went through the cracks. 25% says lack of compassion for the hurting. 90% says moral failure on my part. 18%. And so we can go on and on. And what we begin to see is that in the top 10, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In the top 10, it's nothing to do with doctrine. It's not that they had an issue with the state of the dead or the issue with the Sabbath. This is all relational or relationship issues that they have, no big issue because no one paid attention. And I hope we're starting to get the picture of the ones that have left the church. These are the reasons why, after doing surveys, what happened when they stopped attending. So now let's see, of the 40% that have left the church, how did the church reach out to them? What happened to them? 40% of those people that left the church says, no one contacted me. A church member came to visit me, a local elder. 6% says the pastor contacted me. And so you can see that even the pastor, in our context, it's very even might even be worse because our pastors have so many churches and just so much traveling to do. And so this might even be worse. But the point I want to make is that the majority of people leaving the church is because of relationship issues, right? This we could have dealt with just by being a Christian. Um, so the problem here, my friends, is that our Adventism has not yet been baptized into Christianity. I know that's a bold and big statement to make if you understand what I'm saying. I'm saying, yes, we have Adventist doctrines, but those things, the person, as we have not been baptized. We've accepted these things, but we have not really been a Christian to people. And so hence I'm saying our Adventism has must still be baptized into Christianity. All right. So a lot of focus is being placed on church planting, but not on nurture and retention. Um, so yeah, let me continue. Uh, And so the question here is what would Jesus have done? What would Jesus have done? And he actually gave a parable to tell us exactly what he would have done if people would have been slipping through the cracks or leaving the church. The Bible speaks in Luke chapter 15, verse 3 to 6. It says, Then Jesus told them this parable. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Doesn't he leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home. Then he calls his friends and neighbors together and say, Rejoice with me, I have found my lost sheep. When I was growing up, in the storybooks, in the Christian storybooks that we read, I always saw pictures of the shepherd counting the sheep into the barn, into a safe place. But the Bible, when you read the Bible says, suppose one of them has 100 sheep and loses one, doesn't he leave the 99 in the open country? In other words, the shepherd risks everything because sheep and cattle, that was your wealth. He risked all his wealth in order, his comfort zone, risked everything he has, and he goes to find the one that is lost. And of course, this shepherd is none other than Jesus Christ, that was willing to risk everything, give everything, leave the whole heaven. Ellen White says that when Jesus left heaven, it was as though heaven, was empty because Christ wasn't there anymore. And he risked everything in order to save the sheep. And I want you to notice that this sheep in the story was part of the fold. He was there. It was there, but through the cracks, he lost his way. And the shepherd did not just go and find new sheep. He was very much interested in the sheep that once was part of the fold. And so and this should actually be the burden that each one of us should also have, the burden of reaching out to those that were once within our fold and that are no longer there. Now, I want to ask the question, and this is the question I want to ask. When does the rescue start? When does the rescue start? Um, the rescue in the story, with regards to the story in Luke chapter 15 of the lost sheep, the rescue actually begins when the shepherd starts to count, right? In other words, the rescue for the lost sheep starts to take place when the shepherd starts to count. And the only reason he realizes that one is missing is because there has been counting before, right? There's been a record of all the sheep. And so a record was kept. There was counting that was done. And so when he recounted, he realized, hey, this one sheep is no longer with us. And so the rescue begins when we start to count, when the shepherd started counting. And remember, he didn't wait. He's been counting. He was in the open field. He started counting. He didn't wait till he got to the barn. He didn't wait till he got to his house to start to count and see. No. When he realized, even in the open field, that one was missing, he stopped and he went to seek. And we have really the opportunity as members. We need to take what we call accountability. I hope you get that. We need to count, but we need to take accountability. When we see someone is not in Sabbath school, it's not in our lesson study, we need to make effort to find out why they aren't here. Last year in the Western Cape, I introduced what we call reintroduced the record, Sabbath school record. And the aim of that record was so that we can keep tabs and remind ourselves who is supposed to be there and who is not there. And so we all need to take individual accountability to ensure that the person who's sitting next to us this week is sitting next to us next week, is sitting next to us the week before. If they are not, we need to find out where they are, because everyone wants a sense of belonging. So the shepherd starts counting, right? And this is what we need to do. We need to take accountability of the souls and our friends, and not just our friends, but every member in the church. Notice what Christ's object lesson says. The shepherd who discovers that one of his sheep is missing does not look careless upon the flock. He doesn't just glance through them. He doesn't just say, oh, okay, it looks like they all are still here. No, no. Ellen White says he counts and recounts. He counts and recounts the flock. When he is sure that one sheep is lost, he slumbers not. In other words, he does not sleep. He does not say, oh, let's see next week. Let's see the week before how things will be. No, no, he slumbers not. He makes every effort to find that one lost sheep. Now, I like this part, and I've put it in bold. It says, the parable does not speak of failure, but of success and joy in the recovery. And so when we count and recount, and we do it on a weekly basis, and we take accountability, Ellen White puts in here, she says, this will lead to success, because the parable, starting with accounting, does not speak of failure, but of success and joy in the recovery. And so when we are following up as to where our members are, we are sure to be successful and have joy in the recovery of those who are lost. And then, there are millions of lapsed and former Seventh-day Adventists worldwide who already believe much of what we believe. They are waiting for us to reach out to them and to love them with the love of the shepherd and the father of Luke chapter 15. So here's an acronym I want you to remember. I'm going to share this wherever I go, okay? This term, we ask that we may, like Christ, seek and save the lost. Seek, I put it into an acronym. It says, search until you find. Encourage till they return. Empower them to serve when they have returned, and keep them until Jesus comes. May we seek and save the lost. Now, how are we going to do this? We are speaking about accountability. We are speaking about accounting. And so this is where Secretariat is so powerful, so powerful. And allow me to share you. Okay, I'm going to start with just giving the conference structure to explain to you where Secretariat falls within the structure of the church. The conference structure, we have 3 pillars, right? 3 pillars that keeps the conference afloat. These pillars, you have presidency. Then on the other end, you have the chief financial officer. And then right here in the middle, you have what we call executive secretary. So these are the 3 pillars that our organization, the conference, they stand on. President is the first officer. He's the overseer, and ensuring that we are moving in that in the correct direction. In the correct direction. Okay, but they work autonomous. In other words, they have each one has their own function, and they have their own goals to accomplish, right? Of course, within the bigger goal of the whole Cape Conference. But I want to show you these 3, all right? This is how we work. So the president encourages us to do mission, all right? Encourages us to do mission. The executive secretary, or let's go to the CFO. The CFO ensures that there is funding to do the mission, right? Pays the pastors, ensures that the mission has financial strength. And then, of course, the executive secretary tries to show us where we are and how to get to the vision of the presidency. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now, let me show you the initiatives now that we have as Secretariat. And of course, my friend, sorry, I left the T, was supposed to be there. Of course, it's important to know that we have initiatives that we'd like to share with you, right? And we have what we call the 6 M's initiative. Now, the 5 M's we have received directly from the SAU, and they get it from the SID and so forth. So the 5 M's, it's what is there even in the higher organizations. And so we have added a 6M to this. As the Cape Conference Secretariat, we've added a 6M, and I'll share with you what that 6M is. I also want you to notice that these 6 M's are really 6 principles that we find in the parable of the lost sheep, right? These 6 M's are based on 6 principles we find in the parable of the lost sheep. Mission. So in the parable, it emphasizes the core of Christ's mission, right? Was to ensure that no one is lost. So that's the M number 1. M number 2 is management. Remember, these 6 initiatives is for the Secretariat, right? Our duty as Secretariat. All right, this management. If I was with you physically, I would have asked, how does this relate to the parable? What principle does this speak to in the parable, right? But the parable also speaks about effective management of the sheep, right? It recognizes the individual value of each sheep. It ensures that all members feel cared for, right? So this is management. We're going to break it down a little bit more, all right? And then ensure all members feel cared for, right? And then the third M is memory, right? How can we, was there memory? Did the shepherd show memory, right? Was the shepherd mission orientated? Was he a good manager? Yes, there was a managed, right? We spoke about that, mission managed. And then memory. Was it important for the shepherd to have memory of the one sheep that has gone, right? So he remembers the value of the lost sheep, and he refuses to let it remain forgotten. So he says, he remembers it, and he says, I'm going to go after it. So it's not just forgotten, but it's a memory to reach the ones that have left. I hope you are still with me, okay? So the shepherd in our story of Luke chapter 5 is shown qualities of mission, showed his managerial skills, and he had memory. And then the 4th M is missionary. So when he realized that there was one lost, right, he went out of his comfort zone. In other words, he actually sacrificed everything, even to appoint himself and his identity and his wealth to pursue the sheep that was lost, okay? And so I want to show you Luke 15 is very applicable to Secretariat. Mission, yes, shepherd is mission orientated, right? Management, he cares, he counts his sheep. Memory, right? He did not forget. There was a record of this individual. We spoke about the ACMS. We'll talk about it a little bit more, right? And that was memory. And then he could go and seek, of course, and then missionary to go and seek the one who was lost, okay? So, and then the 5th M is media, right? How does Luke chapter 15, how does the shepherd show? When the shepherd returns, he does not keep it to himself, right? He now shares it on Facebook. He shares it on Twitter. He shares, the Bible's very clear. He lets his friends know, and most of our friends, is on Facebook. Thousands we have on Facebook. So Christ now uses media. He doesn't keep it to himself, right? He shares it with everyone. He tags his friends. He tells them the story, and they rejoice together, okay? So here we see the shepherd is mission orientated. He manages the sheep. He remembers his sheep, and there's a memory of his sheep. His mission, he goes out to save the ones that he has lost, and then he shares it on social media. All right. And by the way, this is the M that we have added as the Cape Conference media. All right. And rejoices together with his friends. And then the last M is membership. Membership. The shepherd joins in. He rejoices in recovering the lost sheep and shows the value of every member within the fold. So here we see, just like the shepherd, um, has rejoiced and showed the value of one person. We in Secretariat, we want to emphasize the value of our members, and we've spoken about the 7Me app and putting all the details so that we can know exactly who our members are, what are their strengths, where do they live, when is their birthdays. Okay, we want to see the value. Remember, the shepherd valued every sheep. If this sheep was lost and it wasn't so, a great looking sheep, it had spots, and shepherd would have said, but he said, let that one go. Let that sheep go. No, he valued every sheep. Even though he had 99, he said, no, I still see value. And this is the 6M's initiatives that the Cape Conference Secretariat would like to bring to you. Oh, Pumla and subs, please don't spoil. I've got enough color here, but thank you. Okay. Let me now break it down to tell you how we are going to actually let me see here. Someone said I can just press something here. Clear all drawings. Okay, good. Thank you for the person that helped me there. So, all right. So let's look at each one and see what initiatives we are going to have under all of these categories or these 6M's initiatives. I hope you are with me. Okay, we are almost there. So these are they. Right. So let's look at mission first. This is finding the lost. We are talking about a center of influence. So on 3 weeks ago, Dr. Dani Potgieter did a presentation of center of influence. And we have actually allocated Dr. Dani to be our forerunner, to be the representative, the one, to go around. If you need him, you pay his cost and he'll come to your church and he'll help you establish, and give you guidelines and ways in which you can start your church. Remember, a center of influence, yes, there's funding available from the conference, but beyond the funding, we are encouraging every church to become a center of influence, even though they may not receive. We want to move away from your church building just being a Sabbath building, but an everyday building. Ellen White spoke about the busy bee, or what is it called? The busy bee, the church, the busy church. Anyway, the beehive church, the church that's busy, and we want to move in that direction. And we shared so many already ideas in which you can have that. And by the way, let me just say the videos, we are trying our best to upload them soon. You'll get them. If you have missed out on that center of influence presentation, we are going to upload those videos. And then this term, we are intentional about transforming our churches. Okay, so I've said that into centers of influence. We have given Dr. Dani Potgieter the responsibility to promote and educate each church to become a center of influence. All right. Then under missionaries, this is what we'd like to achieve. Now we are talking about sending out the shepherds, right? We would like to equip and send out mission pioneers, or what we call global mission pioneers, to unreached, unentered areas. On day number 2, Brother Sabelo Ndlovu did presentations with our union assistant secretary, associate secretary, Elder Nguera, all right, and they did presentations on the global mission pioneers. And so our aim is to at least have a few unreached, unentered areas that we go into and we send pioneers. Now, again, yes, there's funding available, but don't focus on funding. You can do it right now. Locate areas in your surrounding areas, that has that's unentered areas, or areas that are non-Christian, and you go and work in those areas. We were just blessed by a powerful week of prayer where we spoke about how to reach different ethnic or cultural or religious groups. And that spoke directly into what we want to achieve in Secretariat, is to go to the Buddhists, is to go to the Muslims, it's to go to, traditionalists and present the gospel to them. And again, if you have missed out on the youth week of prayer, please find a way to get the material. There is powerful, impactful information there that will be able to help you to reach the unentered or unreached people group. So our aim is here to empower global mission pioneers and lay leaders to carry the gospel forward. Again, Brother Ndlovu Sabelo will help you in the application, will help you, in this regard. Our goal is to identify at least 3 unreached areas, people groups in our conference, and establish presence and impact lives. We want to encourage every member to see themselves as part of the mission field, starting at home. Your neighbor might be an unentered or unreached group. It is your responsibility, it is my responsibility to be able to reach out to those that are close to me, right? Again, as in point number 5 emphasizes what I've said, Aldous Abelo and Ndlovu has been given the responsibility to ensure that missionaries are trained and global missionary applications are successful. All right. Let's go to number 3, management. Let's see, management. This is the nurture and retention part. We are encouraging churches to be intentional in ensuring that our members are counted and actively engaged in evangelism. Now, a statement has been made by Ellen White. Ellen White says that we are the medium. Our church is the medium. Our purpose, why God chose us, is to be a medium for mission. And so, in other words, if we are not evangelizing, we have lost our identity. In actual fact, our president, he likes to say that we are living in sin. And he shows us what's the difference between living in sin and sinning. And so we do not want to live in sin if we are not actively. And so when our members come in, we want to help them to evangelize. So as they come in, they must be equipped to evangelize. I'm going to encourage, since I was SSPM director, we are following a powerful program called the GROW program, right? It speaks about the different phases, agricultural phases, how we grow a plant. And that phases actually speaks to how we need to, and it speaks about planting this, preparing the soil, planting the seed, cultivating, and then harvesting, and preservation and preserving. And so that's the grow. And if we stick with that, our Sabbath schools are in line with the GROW initiative, our afternoon programs, if we can align to this powerful initiative called the GROW, truly we will then hit the mark. We'll be able to train as many of our members as we'll be able to train them to evangelize. And under nurture and retention, we have introduced the Sabbath school record booklets. Okay. I know that last year, I know the SSPM director did ask me for the booklet, the template, and we sent it off. So right now, I'm sure everyone should have access to the Sabbath school record booklets, which is a powerful way in managing and keeping tabs on each other. And then we would like to strengthen administrative processes for transparency, efficiency, and accountability. It is our aim, by God's grace, to really ensure that there is communication between the churches and the conference. We really want to close that gap between. There are so many, like I said, pastors have so many churches, to attend, and there sometimes, can be a bottleneck situation where there's not always. So we are really trying. One of the ways we have tried to deal with transparency and efficiency and communication is by actually having a WhatsApp group. We've got a Facebook. So we have an official WhatsApp group, that is, of course, just for administrators, for the conference to put on their events that are happening, the latest within. I'll share the QR code with you later, so that if you are not on there and you are zooming in through your laptop, you can just take a picture and it will take you directly. I'll try to even put it in the chat as we in the question and answers, if there are any. Okay. Then we want to equip church clerks with training and tools to effectively lead and manage their church. We've basically almost been in all parts of most, okay, not all, but most parts in the Cape Conference, trying to train our church clerks, and we continue to train them. We've used this 3 weeks this month also for training the members, the church clerks, as to what is important, and giving them the necessary tools to do the tasks that they need to do. All right. And then we are also trying to be compliant with the POPI Act. Yesterday, we dealt with the POPI Act, and it's essential for protecting our members' privacy and personal information. All right. And again, all these presentations that we did, we are planning to upload them. Okay. But we are very serious about looking after people's information. And when we dealt with ACMS, we spoke about it, and last night again. So we have for this area, we also have Brother Zlovu Sabelo, and he is also more than willing to assist you with the current status and policies and laws with regards to the POPI Act. And so you can reach out to him as well. Okay. Then we have our membership. Under membership, we really want to build a caring church. We want to, have our Adventism be baptized into Christianity, right? So we want to build a church that cares, not a judgmental church, a church that is really there for its people. And so under membership, we want to ensure that every church is registered with the ACMS. I think we are at 100% already. However, not all our churches or the ACMS is functional. Okay. So we want to ensure that it is being used. Our pastors have access to it, our church clerks, our treasurers. And so we are grateful that as a conference, we're leading in this regard of the ACMS, really, and we continue. We are there, but we just now need to make more use of the program, the system, the ACMS. All right. Point number 2, strengthen member care programs to ensure everyone feels supported and valued. We don't really do programs as Secretariat, but we do promote that we really care for the sheep in our fold. We want to promote inclusivity, where all members contribute to the church's growth and mission. You will see when we are dealing with media, we try to, have representation of everyone, women, men, children, black, white, colored, everyone. So we really want to ensure that everyone is sorted. In the Cape Conference, we are blessed to have a huge membership of Malawians, and we have a pastor that has been designated to them, just to show that everyone is inclusive. Okay, and this is our aim. And then on point number 4, ensure that every member who has a phone downloads the 7Me app. We are really strong on this. We have launched this wherever we've gone. The 7Me app, it's been there. It's maybe dormant, but we want to bring life to it. And we have already seen the interest and people starting to download these apps on their phones. Okay. So these downloads, the 7Me app, all you have to do is go to your phone. If you have Apple, if you've got Android, if whatever what do you call it? Whatever device you have, you can type in 7Me app, follow the instructions, and then by you filling out the app and all the instructions, then you will also update our ACMS at the same time automatically. Again, we've already done a presentation on the 7Me app. Dr. Potgieter did that presentation, and so we are encouraging you to go back to those videos to see how benefit and advantageous and how powerful this app is that you have. Then point number 5 under membership, the 7Me app will also help to give the member a sense of belonging. All right. If I was with you, I'll ask, what is the next M? But I'm not. So I take it all of you shouted out memory, right? This is where we preserve values and history. Now, I must be honest, this is what we would like to achieve, and we are going to do our best to get something done this year. But let's go through it. This is what we'd like to do. We would like to document, share stories of transformation and community impact to inspire future generations. So we are asking communication and especially church clerks, when you go out, take photos. You're doing outreach, take photos, put it on Facebook, right? I like putting things on Facebook because it encourages me and it encourages other people. So when you are doing all these wonderful things, document it, right? Put it on social media. When souls are baptized, document it, put it on social media, write something on the church board and on the WhatsApp group or on your websites if you have one, right? Document them. So we are really want stories to be documented. When I die, people must say, there was, who's Eugene? And they just type in Eugene Carolus and they can find out who I was and all the mistakes that I've made in the Secretariat. I'm only joking, but it's true, right? But document everything. We also are planning to have a S8 Heritage Booklet project, okay, where we compile all, especially historical. We are going to Kimberley and we have a site there that's a historical site and we want to document that, right? We have churches in Cape Town that, the first churches, I don't know which one, there's going to be a fight, all right? But if I mention one and someone may say later on, no, it was someone, other church was the first church in Cape Town. But what I'm trying to say is what we want to do is we want to have a drive where we get to all these historical sites and then form a heritage booklet and a project. 1 or 2 already came to me and said, Pastor, I'm interested in assisting with that. So please reach out to us so that we can more, what do they say? Many hands make light work, right? So the SDA Heritage Booklet Project in the Cape Conference is a local initiative to preserve and share the rich history and heritage of the Seventh Adventist Church within the Cape Conference territory, church, and the Global Adventist Mission. And so people, once it's on the internet and all this information, people from New Zealand will be seeing what's happening here and how did it happen that the 3 conferences became 1 conference. We need all of this to be documented. And then under point number 3, those were just examples I'm making. Point number 3, we have a newsletter initiative. We'd really like to start a newsletter, of course, where we are at, and I can be open with you. We are just want to ensure that all the emails are sorted out. Churches are on ACMS. Now we are busy currently as we are speaking. We have about 75% of our directory is almost done. So soon there'll be a conference directory, a very colorful one. And I pray that you will enjoy when you read it and appreciate the effort that has gone into that. And then, of course, we have a website that has been outdated. And so we are trying to renew that website. As we are speaking with the SAU to assist us in that regard as well. And then, of course, when we've got those things sorted, this is the initiative that we really want to have maybe a quarterly newsletter that will share events across the Cape Conference, which will later, of course, serve as memory. And then on point number 4, we'd like to ensure that this term, at least, we receive a comprehensive Cape Conference directory and a yearbook. Okay. This all falls under Secretariat. And so I'm bringing it to your attention so that you can know what we are supposed to be doing and what we envision to do, all right? And then, of course, the last one is media. Here we want to spread the message, right? We want to ensure that everyone gets to see what the good things that the Cape Conference is doing. And of course, how God is winning souls. You know, when we talk about baptisms, that in and of itself is a miracle that we need to publicize and also put on our media platforms. So point number one, we would like to leverage media platforms to share messages of hope, love, and redemption. Number two, we want to utilize digital tools like social media, live streaming, and the Cape Conference YouTube channel, Facebook page, and WhatsApp groups to reach broader audiences. And then number three, we want to develop compelling, Christ-centered content to keep the community informed and spiritually engaged. And so I look, my friends, you need to pray for the Secretariat, because God is really, he really wants to use us mightily, but we need to really rely upon him, and we rely upon your prayers to see all of this come into fruition. And then under four, having an annual media and technology convention. And so at the end of the year, it's in the conference yearbook or the year planner, all right, in our Cape Conference calendar of events, we have what we call an annual media and technology, where we want to talk about how different technology, the technology can actually form a huge part in spreading the gospel. And so we will be teaching you there on AI, how to use AI for robotics. The idea there is to talk about virtual reality. And please do attend that, okay? Details of that will come in the next month or two, all right? And then we want to use technology. Adventists believe to come with innovative ways to use technology to spread the three angels message. That is the annual media and technology. Number five, we are encouraging every church to register itself on Google Maps. I did the presentation on how to put ourselves on the geolocation or on the maps. And so that presentation is also available, where I go step by step as to how to actually put your church on the map. And I explain there how powerful. In fact, I gave you two testimonies of how people just through Google Maps walked into an Adventist church for the very first time and are now baptized members, Adventist members within our church. So this is powerful and it's free of charge. Please Google or just go to the videos and see and listen to the testimonies and also see how it's done. And then, of course, Pastor Kotela will be responsible to ensure the communication. And then this term, we ask that we may, like Christ, remember, seek and save the lost. Search until you find, encourage them till they return, and empower them when they are saved. Empower them to serve and keep them until Jesus come. Here we have the Secretariat office. These are they that you call, and I've already explained each one's duty. What we've done on our roadshows, we've given out a booklet, a hard copy of the Cape Conference Secretariat. Everything I've shared with you now is in this booklet and more. So you have a whole lot of resources that you can find in this booklet. We've created a digital copy as well that's interactive, that's filled with QR codes, and as a PDF, you can just put your finger on anything. There are a few things, and it will take you directly to the resources that you need in communications, as church clocks, as all the tools you need is basically in this book. And we do have a hard copy that we are giving out in every roadshow, but praise God that there's also a digital copy available. And here's a QR code for those of you who are not yet on the WhatsApp group, because on the WhatsApp group, you receive information, you receive events and notifications and everything that's happening, or most things that's happening within the conference wide like conference-wide events, okay, announcements and all those things. So you can just scan that. All right. I think that brings me to the end of the presentation. It was just an overview of what Secretariat is about and what we would like to achieve in the next 3 years. I'm going to stop my screen, and if there are any questions, then you may ask. If not, then I think we are all good to go. I see 3 questions. I'm going to take them quickly. Let's just see here. All right. And then hopefully in the next 10 minutes, then we'll be able to say bye. Let's see. Anonymous participant. A pastor's service is just as demanding as any high-ranking job. With correct planning, they should be able to do home visits or midweek prayer meetings. They should be held accountable for the service schedule they present to the church board and to the church. And of course, I think you are speaking, Anonymous, you are speaking to the fact that we all need to do our part to ensure that we are retaining and nurturing our members. Okay. It's an answer live. Done. All right. Edith asks, posting on Facebook is tricky because of the Poppy Act. Of course, that is true, Edith. We want to ensure that we follow the Poppy Act. So when you are taking pictures, ensure you have the permission of the crowd that you are taking and the people. If not, if one person says, hey, I don't want to be, ask them to step aside or ask them to blur them out, right? But it will always be good to have some sort of recording of them saying that, or record of them saying that it's fine. Other than that, if you're at events, what I normally try to do, I stand behind. So if you're going to take of stand behind people, and then it's only their backs that are showing. And so that way you can get the whole event and pictures of the whole event without revealing their faces. Normally when Sabbath starts, make sure that even you can put it on the screen and you can say, we will be taking pictures, there's videos or there's live streaming. If anyone has an issue with it, please speak this elder or whatever. And just to get that out of the way and just take a photo of, the request that you have made. All right. But of course it's tricky, but we can share a few things. I saw a thumbs up, so that means I answered adequately. Then actually even taking photos, videos could be breach of Poppy. Okay, I think I've dealt with that one also. All right. And then Charmaine Ashworth, okay, asks or says, thank you, Pastor, for very insightful information. How do we go about downloading the 7Me app? Very simple. Just go to your Android or whatever phone you have. You go with the Google Play where you get all the apps. Just type in 7Me. So you'll type in the letter 7 and then ME, 7 and ME. This is all in line with Seventh-day Adventist, okay? So 7 ME, and then it will get you'll get to that app, and you then start downloading and enjoying the functions on that. There's one hand on as Galaxy Note. Please unmute yourself. Let me ask you to unmute. You can go ahead and speak.
Good evening, Pastor. Thank you for your presentation. Sorry, today I'm using my handheld device. I was on the road. My name is Isai from Somerset Western Day Adventist Church. And Pastor, the growth is quite disturbing, of 3%, and we're targeting at least 10%, which is still a little bit, I still believe it's still a little bit lower. Is there any other ways we can do to try to change the growth? And when I also looked at the top 10 lists that you have mentioned that are the causes of people shifting away from the church, they are quite a little bit disturbing, especially the first one, the one which was at the top, which was at 28%. it means it's either as Adventists, we have become so contemporary that we lose the essence of why we are Seventh-day Adventists. So there has to be some kind of initiation to revitalize the reason why we are Seventh-day Adventists. And also, I really appreciate what you guys are doing as the administrators of the conference. But I would like to maybe suggest this. Is it possible, instead of road shows, you carry on with the road shows, but is it possible maybe at some point you guys, we can come down to our local churches, sit down with us, and conduct an inquiry on what we think as members could be cooperated or incorporated in making this mission work go on. Because I would like to believe, because of the amount of work that you have as pastors, you rarely have time to actually see what's on the ground. You are concentrating on the pastoral work, and sometimes you don't see other things that are very imperative in developing the growth of the church. So maybe you need to put it into your schedule. I know the schedules are very tight, but spend some time, come and sit down with us, inquire from us so that we can also share what we think is vital in making the gospel go further.
Absolutely. I think you have highlighted quite a few issues or items there. And it is true that I think the best, and if I failed in my introduction or failed in the presentation, I think what we need to do is basically, I'm saying we've got the evangelistic strategies, we've got it, we are powerful when it comes to campaigns. The real issue here is actually us becoming Christians. And I think if we can focus on our programs to be more Christ-like, the righteousness by faith message, if we implement these things, I think we'd create better Christians. And so definitely the attention is now on each one of us to retain and nurture souls and each other. So I think it's really an individual, and of course the church as a corporate local church can also gear their programs in such a way that it is centered around character building and being better Christ, because it is true when you look at the list, you see that people are leaving not because of doctrines, but because of people that have not really been converted, or that is not showing representing Christ. Then the last part, I forget now. I knew it before I started speaking. But yeah, no, definitely we will, we are recording this, so I've taken note of everything. And if I've missed out, I'll just go back to the recording. I see there's a question on the 7Me app. How do I add photo to church? So this presentation was not really about the 7Me app, but the photo of your church needs to be done, I think, by the church clock. Then you'll see it there as well. What you can do is upload a photo of yourself on there. I think unless as my as my mentor says, I speak under corruption. All right, I hope not. Let's please, can you assist also in training? Was said can add calendar events as well. Yeah, so that's all that functions what you are speaking about must be done by the church clerk who has access to the ACMS system. So all the issues what you are referring to as training that you can put on their calendar of events and all those things should be done by the church clerk. Okay, let me just do the last 2 minutes. We have never received stats on youth ministries. This is Willoughby Zondo. Okay. Oh, well, Zondo, well, old Zondo. Okay. We have never received stats on youth ministries. Total members are you able to tell us how many are there across all ministries in Cape Conference sometime later? Okay. Yeah. Let's work on that for sometime later. I'm glad you put in sometime later, because now you've opened me to be able to say, let's deal with that sometime later. Of course, I'm taking note of that. Thank you so much. Okay, let's look here. Look at this. Correction. Correction. How do I add a photo of the church, of our church? Again, like I said, just the church clerk can do that. Pastor, may we kindly get recordings or slides to our email addresses? Okay, so like I said, as I've recorded all the other presentations, this one will also is also recorded, and by God's grace, very soon you'll get the good news of the uploads to some sort of platform for you to access it. I see one hand, and then I'll take it. Aldin Horsen, you may go ahead. I think I need to, let me just ask you to unmute.
Thank you, Pastor. I just want to say that one thing that I think our church is lacking very much in the whole of South Africa, we do not pray together enough. If people watch Pastor Goya's seminars on YouTube, we don't come together as members and really pray. Some still have what they call prayer meetings, but there's more preaching than prayer, and we will not grow if we do not pray. That's all I want to say.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. My sister, before you mute yourself, on that note, I think we need to ask you to pray. But just before you pray, I want to thank everyone for coming to this presentation. I think we have one more to go this week, and then we are going to have another one later. We still have one more because we've dealt with all of them, but we just need to deal with communications. That's tomorrow. And then on later in the month or in next month, we'll deal with the heritage, how to structure and how to compile information and put it into some sort of record. Sister Aldin, would you mind praying for us?
I would not mind if we could just bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we can only come to you in the name and through the merits of our Savior Jesus Christ. We have no merits of our own. We are fallen sinners saved by grace, and for that we praise you. Father, we are a church that need to pray more, to believe that you answer prayers, that you love us, but you also love the sinners around us, and that we will get wisdom from you through prayer to reach out, to get those people where they should be in your kingdom. We pray for our conference, the leaders. Thank you for these seminars, and please be with us now as we go apart in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. God bless you. Tomorrow we'll learn about how to be a communication secretary, and you are all invited. Take care. Bye-bye.